if we could describe your style of sculpting and artwork, how would you describe it? If we could put it and describe it in a certain way, how would you describe it?
Emotion.
I love it.
Emotion. I mean, you're not looking at sculpture, you're looking at emotion.
Hi everyone, welcome to the podcast. My name is Antonio The Miles, and this is The Empire Podcast. And yes, today we have a great interview with a great gentleman, artist, entrepreneur, visionary, Mr. Chukes. Welcome to the podcast.
Hello, Antonio. Thank you for having me here.
Of course. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm alive and breathing.
I know.
It's always a good thing.
Man, by the grace.
Yeah.
And how's your day been?
I woke up out of the bed, gave my wife a kiss while she went off to work, and now I'm here with you.
Hey, so I guess we're both blessed.
Yeah.
Because I'm glad to have you here. Thank you for allowing me into your studio. It's amazing. Like, if you guys can see in the background, there's some amazing art here. And we're definitely going to get into that stuff. So, Chukes, I wanted to ask you, for the people who don't know who you are, can you tell us who you are?
Well, first of all, I'm alive, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this has been a process of what you see that I create. What you're looking at is my legacy, how I want to be remembered in this world.
I love it.
Some people don't create the legacy that they want to be remembered by.
Okay.
I want to be remembered by what I create, because I know that it's going to be my voice when I'm no longer here. So I've been working diligently, my entire life. And I say my entire life because I knew from a child I wanted to be an artist. It was just the human nature of things.
I got you.
Just creating, putting things together as a child. And I know that that's what I related to more than anything. Wasn't academics, wasn't any social abilities I had, wasn't anything physical, as far as athletics or anything like that, which although I was a former athlete. But the minute I figured out what art was, not even the minute, the second, I knew it was going to be my voice. So here I am, continuing to create.
Was sculpting, was that the first art that you found, or was there other arts that started you off into the art world?
No, I began drawing. I remember, I wrote this in my bio actually, but I remember my first instance with art was watching my mother. She would sew me and my brother's clothes.
Okay, she was a seamstress.
She was for us, yeah. She's very talented. My mother's extremely talented. And I remember one day I was just sitting watching her do this. And all of a sudden she took out a pencil and some paper and she started drawing. Because she didn't like I guess, whatever the patterns that they had. So she decided to create and do her own thing.
Cool.
And I saw this and I'm like, I said, Mom, what are you doing? And she says, oh, I'm drawing. And so I didn't see exactly what she was doing. And then finally I saw the drawing and I'm like, wow. I'm like, what is this? She said, oh, it's a drawing. And I thought it was amazing. And shortly after that, I asked my mother, I said, Mom, can I have a pencil and some paper? And I was like, I know I was around 3 or 4, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. Between the ages of 3 and 5, I know I was in that age range. And I would just take the paper and I would just start drawing everything. That was in my imagination. And I just had this vivid imagination, and that imagination is still there. It never left me.
Gotcha. Yeah. The inner child, it's still with you.
Yeah, society tries to take your childhood away from you.
Facts.
They want you to grow up and be an adult.
Yes.
You know, but and you have to, in a sense, you know, you have to in order to maneuver your way around here, but you still have to have a childlike sense of life and creativity, and that's when that comes out in my art, you know.
Yeah, and definitely can see the creativity and the maturity at the same time. You know, the youthfulness and the maturity. I don't believe in prodigies, but that's a different story. The reason why is I think you need life experience in order to actually fully express in art. You need to have experience in life to fully express in art. But that's a completely different subject. But I was looking at this art piece next to me right here, and I was like, there's no way a child can make that art piece, but a grown man with experience, vision, story to tell can make something like that. So, I don't know. Am I sounding a little off?
No.
Okay.
A child can imagine it.
Of course.
You know, that's why the child's imagination is so great.
Yes, sir.
And to lose that is to lose, you know, one of the greatest parts of your, not physical, but your mental being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to lose your imagination is just a horrible thing to do. Never lose that. Keep that with you.
Yeah.
So even though I couldn't create like I'm creating now as a child,
yeah,
those visions never went away. And so what you do is you work to achieve that. If it's something that's part of who you are, you're gonna find a way to make it happen. And the universe or the cosmic energy or the spirituality of the universe, if you tap into that, it will take you in that direction. I tapped into it.
Yes. Yeah, clear as day. Yeah, you're like riding the wave, as they say. Yeah, you're riding the wave of that. So Chukes, I noticed that a lot of your sculpting, your artwork, deals with faces. Why is the face so important?
You know, I mean, we our energy comes from our face. You know, I mean, it just, you know, I mean, I'm looking at your face. I'm not looking at your shoulder, your arm, or your hands, or your legs, or your feet. I'm looking at your face. I mean, we speak, we breathe, we hear, we see from this part of our being right here.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
if that was on our shoulder, then that's where I would be looking. But we're accustomed to looking at this part of who we are. So our expressions of life come through that, and our personality of who we are and what we are comes through our face. So I create these faces. You know, I don't know who these people are.
Uh-huh.
I've never seen them before. I don't draw them. I don't draw. The drawing is already in my head. I draw with clay. You know, so they just come out. You know, and then the amazing thing about it is people now through social media and whatnot, and I've had shows where people have walked in the door and I've said, come, let me show you something, and I'll take them to my sculpture, and it will be them. I've had that happen.
Wow.
You know, yeah. It doesn't happen. It's rare, but it happens. You know, it does. You know.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
That is super cool. And I've noticed that they're obviously black women, right? But I am getting like an not just American black women. I'm getting like an African sense and style of like of black women from a lot of the sculpting. It's just from my own personal observation. I kind of get like a West East African type of African women. Does that at all come to mind at all when you see it, or is it just whatever happens to you?
You know, I'm not really conscious of the nationality of particular work that I do. That's why they all have so many different colors.
Yes.
You know, because I don't want to be pigeonholed into one aspect of the human form. But I know a great deal of what I do comes from the African energy, from the African woman, from that natural beauty of the first woman who walked the planet.
Yep.
That creativity. And I want to bring light to that, because that's something that you know, our society and our history has not allowed so many of us to recognize about the power of the woman and the first woman and first male coming from the continent of Africa. Because, I mean, when you really look at it, and, you know, this is scientifically proven that the first beings were from Africa.
Yeah.
You know, so we're all brothers and sisters from the continent of Africa, regardless of whether you want to believe that or not. But I'm recreating that in my own form.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love it so much. You know, we talked about the head being like, that's how we communicate and everything like that, and we look. And I noticed that a lot of the sculptures kind of stop after the neck. There's a couple of them that kind of get to the bust. But is there, do you have many or some, or are you interested in doing like full body sculptures?
The energy is in the head for me. I mean,
Okay.
the energy is not in the rest of the body.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've done them. I mean, I have some full body pieces, but it's just, you have to, for me, it's, the reason I don't do portrait work, because it's boring as hell.
Let's just be real.
It is.
Let's
It's
just be real,
it's just,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I kind of veer away from doing portrait work, you know,
Okay.
because if you want to look at yourself, take a picture,
Woo!
you know, or go look in the mirror or something like that.
Yes.
You know, it's like I can create a portrait of someone and they may say, well, that doesn't look like me, but it feels like you. That's how I felt you looked. That's the energy I got from you.
I love it.
You know?
I love it.
So, I mean, if they can handle that, I'm good with it. Some people want, you know, an exact detail. I just did a piece of Path Hotep, who wrote the Maxim, and he's Egyptian, the first black man to write a book 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
A doctor from New York called me up, and we went through all of this stuff because he wanted the detail, and that man drove me crazy, but it was one of the greatest lessons for me. And I had to do it off his cell phone because they don't have a whole lot of pictures of that Path Hotep. They just, you know, they don't release a lot of them from Egypt. So, you know, doing it off a little cell phone was, and this man is a doctor. He's a doctor, an eye doctor. I mean, he does eye surgery. I can't remember exactly the terminology of his title, but he sees all of these things. So he says, hey, you know, Chukes, this wasn't right and that wasn't right. So I had to go back and see it again through his eyes.
Chuke, so I did notice that the Egyptian one you're talking about, right? The one that was like really detailed by the doctor, that was on Instagram. You recently posted it, right? It had colors and everything like that onto it, or that's a different
yeah,
one?
the hair was black and the face was like a rust, or the bottom was like a rusted orange color. You know, they have a certain color type that they use for the body. You know, it's because they were very mathematical in the process, because their pieces are not anatomically correct. You know?
Really?
No, they're not.
Like their attire?
No, they well, when you look at Egyptian hieroglyphics, they're not anatomically correct. They could do that very easily.
Okay.
I mean, and it's so much harder to do something that's non-anatomically correct. And people look at some of these pieces just like they look at what they call African art, and they say, well, that's very simple to do. You try it. Try it. Try it. That is way more difficult than what the Europeans are doing with the anatomically correct art that they do.
Facts.
Why don't you think that they tried to do African art? And when they do, they cannot recreate it with the same essence that the African can.
Facts.
But the African, if they chose to do that, which I can create the way the European does. And I'm not trying to make any judgments.
No.
I'm just telling you a fact of who I am and how I deal with art.
Didn't Picasso get his most famous cubism from after he traveled to Africa?
He never traveled to Africa.
He never traveled to
Picasso
Africa?
never stepped foot in Africa.
So
never.
is that a lie then?
No, it's not a lie.
Okay.
It's the truth. He saw African imagery.
Okay.
I mean, it was all around Europe. I mean, they hoarded Africa. You know, why?
That's true.
Why do you think they hoarded that art? If it wasn't important, they should have just left it there. They know how beautiful and how important that, what they called art. Africans never refer to their art as art. Europeans gave them that name.
Interesting.
Gave the Africans the name art. They titled their work art. what African art is, it is, let me just put it to you briefly like this.
Please.
If your village needs water, you create a deity. If you need to impregnate your wife, you create a deity.
A fertility goddess.
If there's something significant that happens in your village, you create some type of deity. So what you're doing is you're creating a power, not just a piece of art. It has a meaning that's connected to it.
There's substance.
A very strong, powerful meaning that's connected to it. And I try to bring all of that into my art. Everything in here has that same meaning. I'm not creating just for the sake of creating. No. Everything has a story. Everything I create has a story. It's very important. And it's important that I tell that story because history has so blatantly left the African artist out, left the black artist out. And I refuse to let that happen to me. That's why I went and I got my education. That's why I got my master's degree. I didn't go to school to get a degree. When I went to school, my best instructors were my English, history, theory instructors. They were not my art instructors. They weren't my art teachers. My art teachers, they were cool. They were good. I enjoyed them. But they knew that they couldn't teach me what I create. They knew that.
Yeah.
But what they could do is just point me in a direction where it would benefit me. Those that had the wisdom to do that. The other ones,
stay back. Yeah, I went to school for music, and I look at art as freedom, and school as a system of control, and so you can't combine the two. Meaning you can't control someone who's trying to be free and liberated, and I think that's kind of, a little bit of kind of how I'm relating to you, and I think the way I found a medium for it was that through going to school for music, I was able to understand like some theory, some harmony, some history, but they can't teach me how to create.
Well, let me tell you something, Antonio. You have to already know that when you walk on the campus, and that's the hardest thing for a young mind to absorb, because they go to these higher institutions of learning and they see these professors with all of these titles. And the intimidation factor can be tremendous. But for me, I personally didn't give a damn about all that.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'd never disrespected them in any way, but I knew who I was. I knew why I was there. I knew what I wanted. But it took me a long time to get to that point. My first endeavors into college were not good. They weren't good. I went to college my first endeavor was as an athlete because I got a track and field scholarship.
Okay.
And I left my college with a 4.0 grade point average, but I didn't have a degree. And once my athletics was no longer, my time for running track was gone, and my athletic scholarship had run out after 4 years, here I am with the 4.0 grade point average, just now trying to find myself as an artist, very young man. But the school never said, hey, you know, why don't you come back and finish your art degree? You know, you got a 4.0 grade point average. You're about ready to graduate. And I'm like, and I didn't know. I didn't have the understanding of academics enough to figure that out for myself. You know, so, but I saw a lot of other people doing that. And I just wish I would have known. It took me 10 more years when I finally went back to you know, because I had to raise my daughter.
Yeah.
And then finish up and get my degrees. You know, so that was 10 more years of wisdom that I understood. But the great thing about it, I was able to use all the units from
previous.
Yes, from my previous education and transfer them to my then education to finish. You know?
That's perfect.
Yeah. So, you know, it worked out.
Yes.
It worked out because had I left the college I was attending at that time, I don't think I would have known anything, even with the degree. And I would. And I've seen too many people that just said, "I want the piece of paper," I don't care what I learn. But those are the people that are going to be your teachers one day.
It's scary.
Yes, it is.
Very
It's
scary.
terrifying. And then when your student asks you a question, you got to fake it. Because you don't have sense enough to say, hey, I don't know that. Let's figure it out. Because that's what a brilliant teacher would do.
Facts.
Not one of these fake ass teachers that would just tell you some nonsense that's not the truth, and then you believe that.
Yeah. Let's problem solve it. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do that. And that was my goal in philosophy, because when I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to, when I got my master's degree, I wanted to teach. I went through the whole process, but the art just says, hey, you're going to have to figure out another way to teach. So I'm doing it like with you, Antonio, through this kind of process. I mean, I'm giving my knowledge back.
Yeah.
Because I want to spend my time in
it.
my studio. Thank you.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say about these people who are bad teachers. There's a saying that they say in the music, sometimes in the music school that I went to, was saying, those who can't play, teach. And so it kind of reminded me of that when you were saying right now. I was like, okay.
Well, that's true to an extent.
Yes.
It is true to it, but I've had some great instructors. I mean, and they could do whatever they want to do. They just chose to teach because they knew that was their calling. And those are the teachers and then the professors. Those are the ones I gravitated to, because those are the ones that gave me the energy that I really needed, not the ones that just that like, man, they're intimidated by your student. And I never thought that a teacher should be intimidated by their student.
Yeah.
That used to burn me. I'm like, man, why won't you guys teach me? Why do you look at me like I'm some kind of, like I just dropped in here from another planet?
Yeah.
Why do you do that? Why is the color of my skin terrifying you? Because I know if I was a white student with the gifts that I have,
yes,
you would teach me and give me everything you possibly could.
Yeah.
But here you see this black kid that's like got all this talent, and you tell me I'm doing wrong. This isn't right. You can't do this. Why are you here? I mean, I got it all.
Wow.
I got it all. I got it all. And I'm like, but it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Made you stronger.
It was, but a lot of students, they get that same thing, and they wind up leaving school because their convictions aren't strong enough.
Yeah.
And you got to believe in yourself.
And
you have to.
man, what is it? Everything is tested through fire. Something along those lines.
Well,
Wow.
you got to be willing to walk through it then.
Yeah.
Because if you walk through it, you won't get burned.
Facts.
Walk through the fire. You won't get burned.
Do you think that those teachers were jealous or envious?
Oh, I know they were.
Okay.
I know they were. I'm what other reason would they have not to be?
Yeah.
What other reason? I sit there and I watch all these white students, and this is not a racial thing.
No.
But I sit there and watch them get all these accolades, these grants, these scholarships, all of this stuff. And I mean, I'm in the same class with them, doing the same writing and whatever else I'm doing with them,
Yeah.
But when it came to creating what I'm doing, they weren't on my level. And I'm like, okay, how come I'm not getting this? What's wrong with me? And I thought, what's wrong with me? And then I realized there's nothing wrong with me. It's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
They got to get their self together.
Yeah. They're just trying to they're trying to make you give up, basically.
Well, they just made me stronger. I mean, there's the two energies, positive and negative.
I love it.
They're both just as powerful. It just depends on how you use them. You take that negativity and turn it around, make it positive. But you got to see that coming. You got to have wisdom. You have to see it coming. The world is not for you, especially if you're a black person. They're not for you. They're not. You got to believe that.
Got you.
But you got to be for yourself.
First.
You do.
Yeah, 100%.
You got to believe in yourself. That's what my mother and my father told me.
Yeah.
When I would come home,
God
somebody call me nigga, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, mom, dad. Like, that's not what you are. You're not a nigga. You're my son. Your name is Michael Chukes.
Yeah.
Michael Edward Chukes. That's who you are. And so I'm like, okay, you call me nigga now. That's you calling yourself that because that's your name, not mine.
Oh.
You know, really.
Mm-hmm.
Really. You know, I mean, hey, I did a piece called. It's just a piece. It's just a frame. You know, it's called Portrait of a Nigga. It's just a frame. There's nothing in it.
Ah.
You know, it's nothing in it because in that piece, it's like there's no planet called nigga.
No.
There's no city, no state. You know, there's no street name called nigga. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't exist. You know, it doesn't exist. We make it exist.
Facts.
You know, we give that word
Power.
between black folks. They say it's all right to call you my nigga. You know, I'm like, no. If that's the case, then you go name your child nigga. Okay,
Woo!
See how far that child will go.
Woo!
You know, or change your name to nigga. Change it.
Woo!
See how far. When you go fill out an application, put down there, my name is my nigga.
Facts.
No, put that down there and see what'll happen.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
take your little kid with you down there to the park. You know,
Yeah.
and say, hey nigga, come on over here.
Right.
See how people look at you and look at that child. See what you do to that child.
Yeah. I like to think like if the word's so good, why do you get upset when other races say it to themselves or to you? Like, it's just throw it away. Just throw it away.
It's a hard thing to do because so many of us has been killed and tortured, and and we died believing that's what we were. And that name is just the until we figure out that that's not who we are as a people, until black people figure that out, that we're not niggas. I don't care what loving word you want to call it. Until we figure that out,
Yeah.
we'll never know who we are. We just won't.
100% agree.
We won't.
You hear that, folks? I 100% agree. And I like what I think they're called the 5%ers of the East Coast. They used to say, "What up, God?" Call each other gods. "What's up, God?" And I was like, man, we should just go back to that. Hey, what up, God? Chukes, what's up, God? What up, Goddess? You know, I feel like we should go back to that because there's power in words. That's how we communicate. So there's power in words. There's power in what we say. If I say, hey, I love you, that's energy as opposed to I hate you.
Absolutely.
There's power in words. And so I'm with you. It's terrible, right? And, you mentioned your daughter and your mother earlier, right? And I went a little through your bio, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but are the three most important women in your life your wife, your daughter, and your mother?
Absolutely.
And to add on to that, have you ever created a piece that represents all three of them?
You see it right here. I mean, it's all through here. I mean, like I said, it doesn't have to look like you physically.
Uh-huh.
It's just like the energy I got from my mother. I mean, it's all running through here. My mother told me, she's called me Michelangelo before I even knew who Michelangelo was.
Hey.
She knew
Boom,
I was going to be an artist. She knew it.
Yes.
She knew what all my brothers were going to be. And we all became what she knew we were going to be.
Wow.
All of us. And we're all successful.
Oh, wow.
Being a father raising a daughter, and I'm like, I'm a single dad raising a little girl, and I'm like, I gotta play tea sets with her and dolly stuff and
Paint your nails?
take it to the park. Well, we didn't go that far like that, She, thank God she didn't do that for me. But I mean, if she would have, I probably would have had to do it,
Yep.
But I mean, just those things, dealing. I grew up with all boys,
Mm-hmm.
my brothers. So I wasn't used to being around any girls. Other than my mother,
Yes.
so it was like, how am I gonna raise this little child, but I did, I did, and then when I got married, it's like, I met my soulmate. I mean, she understood, who and what I need in life, as a grown man, and that the fact that she knows the importance of what I create. And so many women out there, when they see their man and they know that they gonna become something, they try their best to
Destroy?
Yes, they do, because they're insecure in themselves. Men,
Ooh.
men,
Tell
men.
'em.
This one's for you out there.
Ooh. Tell them.
Talk to your woman. Tell her what you want. If she doesn't want what you want, she's not for you.
Ooh.
teach your woman. Let your woman teach you. Listen. Understand each other. You must. It is imperative that you communicate with your woman. Your woman ain't your little honey. She ain't your bitch, your hoe. She's your woman. She gives life to your child.
Facts.
You bring a child into this world, you don't have a bitch or a hoe. You got a woman, a wife, someone that you should love and respect. Do that. Take your woman to places where you can educate her. Take your woman to the museum, to the library, to a play. Don't take her to the hoochie club.
There we go.
Take her somewhere where she can really see the world.
Travel. Ooh.
Expose yourself.
Yes.
If she doesn't have that, give it to her. Give it to her.
What if she doesn't want it?
If you love that woman, you'll find a way to make her want it.
Ooh,
If you truly love her,
I love it.
if you look outside of her physical beauty, because that's what so many of these young kids are now. Oh, she's so fine, but she got the brain of a marble.
Gotcha.
You know? Well, if she's got the brain of a marble, then it's your job to expand her knowledge. Really.
Yeah.
Because when you old and you tired and you don't look that fine, you ain't that fine little thing no more.
Get him. Get
You're
him, Chukes.
more in love then. That's why you find love. You're more in love because you got in love with your woman's mind.
Yeah. Who
Not
she
the
is.
physicality, yes. You grew together. You made something out of your life. You didn't just say, oh, she ain't fine no more, I'm a dumper.
Yeah.
Because if that's all you're looking for, you'll never find a woman.
Yep.
Never.
Not the right one.
Well, that's just me.
No, I 100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. I believe that it goes a man, his vision, and his wife, and the wife should support the man's vision as support vessel, right?
It works both ways.
Of course.
Antonio,
of
it
course,
works both
of
ways.
course.
You have to. I have a piece right here. It was called Love. The piece right behind you. You can't
with the
see
two?
it.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes.
But if you see they're morphing into each other, I changed the name to One. Because when you find that person that you know you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you're no longer two people. You're
become
one.
Yeah.
Yes. So your right hand has to know what your left hand's doing all the time.
It's like a biblical scripture.
Oh, you just have to know. And if it hurts, you got to let them know it.
Yeah.
And if she hurts you, you got to take it. If there's a problem, you got to work it out.
Yeah.
That's how you grow in love.
Yeah.
It works for me.
No, I agree with you. I believe if you're afraid to tell someone how you truly feel, then you really are not close enough. But if you be honest with someone that you love, then that means you truly care about them because you don't want to hold back what you really feel, and you don't want them to hold back what they really feel, which basically, in my opinion, opens up your guys' heart better to one another.
Yeah, yeah. And see, the thing about that is, like, we're having this conversation, but this is a rare conversation because you don't see this, especially you have two black males having this conversation.
Yeah.
And it's very important that we understand and that we have a voice because social media is becoming so powerful right now that we're able to say these things now. You know, because society and those who are in control of the media, they don't want to hear this information. They don't want to hear black males talking about loving their spouse.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna say something that
Say it.
a lot of people, they're kind of twisted about. Will Smith
Okay.
smacked
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock in the face for saying something derogatory about his wife. And everybody got on Will Smith, and then they told him, hey, you're banned from the Screen Actors Guild or whatever for so many amount of time, and this is horrible about what you did. You know what this is, though? This is my view of this.
Go for it.
This is a black man sticking up for his wife. White media does not want to see a black man stick up for his wife. That's why they got on Will Smith's case. Now, I'm not saying what he did was right, but I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to be straight, and I told my wife this. If you done that to my wife, I swear to God, I would have done the same exact thing. And I just would have had to deal with it. I would have. Because I'm going to stick up for my wife.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been better if they would have saved, like, pull him aside and say, hey.
It's a
Chris.
heat of the moment thing. You don't, sometimes you react and you make a mistake, and that's sometimes a horrible mistake to make. It is. But hey, we all have to live with our mistakes.
Yeah, with our choices.
We have to live with that. But I will not let the media tell me what I did was wrong. Not the media. I'll let my mother tell me, son, that was wrong. I'll let my father tell me, son, that was wrong. But you're going to have to live with it.
Gotcha, gotcha.
But not the media.
100%. I'm gonna disagree a little bit about the whole Will Smith thing, but I won't go into it because there's a lot of backstory about basically like mental trauma that she's been placing on him. But I won't go into that issue. But what I will go into is back to your artwork, Chukes, and we may have touched it a little bit, but how would you, if we could describe your style of sculpting and artwork, how would you describe it? If we could put it and describe it in a certain way, how would you describe it?
Emotion.
I love it.
Emotion. I mean, you're not looking at sculpture. You're looking at emotion.
Gotcha.
This is my emotion. This is how I feel when I pick up a piece of art material. This is what's inside of me, and I don't have a preconceived notion of what I'm going to create. Sometimes I do, like this. Actually, this piece I did, and I'm sitting here on my table with nothing on the table, just the table, and I'm looking at this table, and I swear I'm seeing this exact same piece. I'm sitting here, and I know if somebody was watching me, they'd probably think I'm crazy. They say like, wow, man, what are you talking about? I don't see nothing. Well, I saw it. I mean, it was right there. I saw it. I mean, I just. And I'm pointing at this piece because this is rare. It doesn't happen a lot. But I'm like, and I sit here and I worked on this piece for 3 days, and after 3 days, this is what I saw.
With the two heads, right?
Yeah, with the two heads. It's called Freedom.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's called Freedom. Yeah, the piece is called Freedom. Yeah.
It's a beautiful piece. So just emotion that comes out. So speaking of your work and your emotion, creative emotion, what's your process like? Do you have a process?
No, not really. I mean, I just go buy some clay. I'm gonna tell you my process. My process is understanding my material.
Okay.
You can't create like this unless you understand your material. If you try and get a bag of clay and just go and create this, it's not gonna happen.
Not at all.
Because the clay has its own structure. It has its own identity. It has its own personality, and you have to understand when it's right to work with this particular material. And it has taken me over 40 years to figure that out. I'm still learning. I mean, it's like clay is teaching me more than I'm teaching clay.
Hey.
No, it is.
I love it.
So we're having this communication, and that's what I think an artist does. They have this communication with what they create. I'm me, and I don't really consider myself an artist. I consider myself a musician.
Okay. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, this whole cabinet right here, all of these cabinets.
Yes.
I'm not gonna open it up. They're full of vinyl albums.
Oh wow.
I got more than 10,000 albums. I've been collecting since I was 13 years old. That is what has inspired me as an artist, is music. I mean, I played music, played in bands and all that stuff. I mean, it was funky, it was cool, but I always, went back to doing my art. But the thing is with music, I consider great musicians my teachers.
Okay.
Because when you hear these incredible musicians really getting into their instruments, that's art.
100%.
Because they're painting or they're sculpting. They're creating something that's inside of you, that they're creating a sound that becomes a vision. So I wanted people to understand, what is that? Okay, you're listening to this, man. I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna recreate that. I'm gonna let you see what that sound looks like.
Got you.
Because he's like, okay, I can hear and see an artist play music, but then after the song is over, you could buy the record or the CD or something like that, or you could MP3 it or whatever. But basically, once you turn it off, it's gone.
Yeah, it's not tangible.
Now it's tangible.
Yeah.
So when I'm in here creating, I'm listening to my music. I'm grooving. I mean, and so it goes into what I'm creating, you know.
I love it.
It just does, you know. I mean, it does, you know. And so I've had to build my system because I want to hear the best of the music.
Of course.
So I'm constantly tweaking my system, you know, buying little things here, little nuances here to get my system in my house to play the music at its finest so I could hear all of the nuances. And then what I hear, the more defined I hear that music, the more defined my art becomes, really.
Because it becomes clear in here, which becomes clear here.
It's definition.
Yeah. I love it. Is
Definitely.
there a favorite genre?
I listen to everything, man.
Okay.
I mean, I'm a funketeer. I mean, I grew
Parliament?
up. Oh yeah, man. I grew up with George. You know, I'm still on the mothership. I hung out with him.
Are you? Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
I hung out with George. You know,
Flashlight.
for he probably doesn't remember it, but I hung out with him. But his actually one of his publicists, he's no longer here. When I first moved out here, I was here for a while. He came and stayed and lived with me for like a month, you know, and he took me to all these places where George was hanging out and stuff like that. And so I got to meet, you know, as a kid, you dream about that. And then here's George's, you know, publicist, who was actually on one of George's albums. He was on the Aqua Boogie album. He was the bird who did, all right. His name was Ramon. I mean, and he told me that. He's like, that's me, man. And I'm like, Ramon, that's you.
Get some credits.
Yeah, you know. So anyways, I mean, that came true, but jazz, you know,
Of
I mean,
course,
listening
Duke.
to, I mean, everybody, you know, I mean, I'm more into fusion,
Okay.
but, you know, I mean,
So like Weather Report or something?
yeah, Weather Report, Return to Forever. When I heard that, I had a friend named Clint that I was the only cat in my circle of people I was hanging with that had a decent system that you could play records on. So all my friends would bring their records over to my house because you bring it to someone else's house and the needle was bad to tear up the record.
Facts.
So, you know, my system was good enough and they could hear it. You know, it's like, oh, wow, this is nice. And so I'm like, they bring it over there. So I got exposed to everything, you know. I mean, they would just bring their music over and I got exposed to just everything, you know. I mean, everything. I mean, I got everything in here.
I believe it. They're
You know,
huge cabinets. They're huge.
Everything. I mean, from jazz, rock and roll, classical, country, to you know, earth music, to African genre music. You know, to I mean, everything you can name in here. Spoken word. You know, I don't discriminate when it comes to music. You know, I played in a heavy metal hardcore band. You
Okay,
know?
wow.
Yeah, just because I wanted to play. These
Why
are the only
not?
cats I could play with, and we actually did good. It wasn't really my kind of thing, but it was cool, you know. It's like, hey, no, it's just a way of expressing myself.
Facts.
You know? Yeah.
Did you play bass?
Yeah,
guitar?
I played the bass.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, Chukes, we talked a lot about emotion. Like your art is emotion. So when you're going through different emotions like anger, grief, joy, is that reflected in your art?
We go back to childhood, you know. Like I said, you know, we lose our childness. When I'm in my studio and I'm alone,
Yes.
I'm that child again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm that child. You know, I'm singing, I'm dancing. I'm a child, you know, but it's rare because you don't get to see that. You know, that's just something that I let out of myself, you know, because that's a part of me that I know has to go into what I'm doing. That's the part of me that I refuse to lose. I love children. I think they're just the greatest. I mean, I remember when I was living in Northern California, I was in my parents' garage, and that's what was my studio at the time. And the kids in the neighborhood would come over, and I would let them play with clay, you know. And it was good because their folks were like, "Oh, okay, well, we're at Chukes' house playing with clay," and they would come back and they'd make things, you know.
Cool.
And they knew they were in a good environment. So, but it was an exchange of information because I remember the kids they're so honest, brutally honest. I was making this one sculpture. It was a full body sculpture, and the kid walks up to me and says, "How come the feet are so small?" And I had never looked at that before. And I stood back and like, oh, you're right. But grown-ups were all walking in here, everybody, but no one pointed it out. But the little kid, you know? So, you know, you have to understand the importance of that. You know, you do. You know, you have to understand. So I love that childness, you know. So it
Yes.
causes me to really examine from the child's eyes of what I'm creating.
Their honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got you. So basically, whether you're angry, happy, sad, it doesn't affect your art at all in what you're creating.
Look here, you know, I could have one of the worst days of my life, and I've had them. I've had some horrible days. I come in here, and I take what's horrible, and I create something beautiful with it. So when I look at it, if I created something horrible, then I'd be like, oh God, I'm just reliving that memory again. But if I create something beautiful, that memory goes away.
That goes back to turning something negative into a positive.
Yes, and that's the power of art.
Yes.
That's the power of the creative mind. And I think that's what you're supposed to do with it. You know, but you can also take things that are just so negative. I have a body of work, which a lot of these pieces in here are part of that work, called Identity Theft. And we're getting ready to show that work actually next month, part of it. But it's been, I've started working on the work 2016 as a result of the police brutality and the killings of so many young black males. And I was asking myself, why are they targeting these young black males at the end of President Obama's presidency? You know, you have this black man who has become the president, did two terms,
Yes.
and was incredible as a president. And you need to do some, society is so sick, they need to do something to say, hey, no, we are still in control here. So somehow or another, the media, because these killings were going on regardless of whether the media was portraying them, and they're still going on now.
Yes.
But they were heightened at that time. And so I decided to do a body of work called Identity Theft. And there's over 50 pieces of art involved in that body of work. But it's been hell trying to get that body of work exhibited around here, because so many people are afraid of dealing with the truth. And I had to tell the exact truth of what, and like I was telling, of what that work is about. That's why I was telling you about the piece called Portrait of a Nigga. That's part of that, that body of work. I mean, I have a catalog out there that it's done. I'm actually going to meet a publisher tomorrow, and hopefully they will publish my book. My wife and I are going to meet them tomorrow. So I wrote a publisher, sent them my book. They contacted me back. They said they were very interested. They actually knew about my work because it was in another book that they published from the Kinsey collection, and they repeated the piece which was lost, which is in that book. And so there was like a sign saying, wow, these people actually know who I am
already.
You know, so I'm like, okay, so we're going to meet with them tomorrow, and hopefully either way, I'm going to have my book published. I hope they do it though. You know,
by the grace, we're going to put the energy out there so Chukes gets published. We're going to put the energy out there for him. And I think that's just amazing. And it seems like throughout time, especially from a Black American perspective, that we have been using the arts to push the narrative forward and to push our respect forward and to push culture forward. And this goes back to like Marvin Gaye, Brother, you know, stuff like that, you know. And so, it's people are scared to hear it because they don't want to deal with the truth, but the truth needs to be said, and you're just another truth teller.
Well, look, if you don't want to deal with the truth, then your whole life is a lie.
Simple as that.
You know, and the old saying, the truth hurts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but my truth may not be your truth. We may disagree on things.
Yeah.
You know, but that's not going to make you my enemy because we don't agree. I mean, that's just human instinct. That's how people, you agree to disagree. You know, I mean, that's just the way, that's how life is.
Yeah.
But some people have taken it to the extreme, you know, where they factor in so many other aspects of human existence, of who we are. And for me, as an artist, you are looking at my truth. This is my truth. You know, this was in my head, and now I brought it out, and it's the truth. Because if I tell you, hey, I'm going to make this piece right here, and I'm going to explain it to you, and I've explained it to you in detail, and then all it is an explanation. And until I make it, it's not the truth. So I've made it, you know, and now it's the truth. It's right here.
You can't deny it.
Yeah, you can't, you know, you can't deny. So that's my that's my philosophy, you know, and I have to, as an artist, I have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I was given what they say, and I know it now. It's a gift, but it's only a gift if you use it.
Yeah.
Everyone has a gift. They don't always use it.
Yep.
So I decided to use mine. It's taken me years and years and years and years and years to refine it, and I'm still learning. But it's still my gift, and I know it's mine, and no one can take it away.
Amen.
No one can.
Yeah.
No one can. But I'm using it to teach others, and that's been hard. It's been truly hard. It's been very hard because our society wants to pacify people. They want to give them a little bit of the truth. They don't want to give them, oh, well, we'll show some of this.
Yeah.
But this is a little too deep for us. But it's the truth. You know, if I'm bleeding and I go to the doctor and I got a big old cut down my leg and the doctor says, I'm going to give you a stitch right here, but you need like 30 more stitches right here. And if I don't put those stitches on here, you're going to bleed to death. But you're going to give me 1 or 2 stitches.
Yeah.
You know, and so I wind up bleeding to death.
And regardless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. You gave me a gift. I have this gift. This is what I'm doing with it. But hey, people have died trying to tell the truth.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm not saying I'm a martyr. I'm not. I'm not in this martyrdom. None of that nonsense. My legacy is my truth. What I do out here, I don't want to leave this world with nothing crazy behind me. I want to leave this world knowing I gave the world something beautiful.
Amen.
That's what I create.
Amen.
So when history says, hey, what did Chukes do? He created this. And not only did I create it, I wrote about it. I documented it. I've been documenting my work since I was in 3rd grade. I have my work in my house from the 3rd grade. That's how important I knew documentation of my work was, because I read about so many of us as black artists, black individualists, that did not have their work documented. And I did not want that to happen to me.
And possibly stolen if it wasn't documented?
Yes, or someone else tells your story, which is not your story. There's a lot of great black artists out there right now. I'm not going to say their name, his name. Someone else is telling his story. He's not telling his story because he's not here.
Oh, man.
So you write his story, and then you put these astronomical prices on his work.
Ooh.
And you lying because you know that's not his story. But you have all these theorists out here, well-spoken people that know what they're saying, and all they're doing is just pimping this cat and making you think, you know, that this work is so great. But if you saw this work and you're like, you didn't see the price on it, you're like, wow, okay. You walk on to the next one.
Got you.
You know?
Got you.
But you see the price and it's astronomical, so you think automatically, God, that must be about something. Well, my prices are what my prices are, but you could relate to what you don't have to think about it. You can see it. It's there. There's a beauty in it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it can connect with you. Not saying what I'm doing is any better. That's just how I see it, and that's what I want to portray as an artist myself. I don't want anybody telling you what I created.
Yeah.
That's why I went to school, so I could learn to write and read and understand and communicate my ideals to other people from my voice.
Yeah.
That's what an education is about. It ain't about a piece of paper.
Nope.
It's about what you do with that piece of paper.
Yep. I like to believe that school gives you the tools. You just have to figure out how to use those tools.
If you're smart enough to understand that, yeah.
And I wanted to ask you that, you know, you're obviously a black man in this sculpting world. Is this a big in this art world, you know, independent art world? Is this a big scene for a lot of black people to be in this scene? Is there a lot of black people in this scene?
Not really. There's a lot of great black artists out there, a lot of great black sculptors out there, but, you know, a lot of them don't get the recognition, you know, that they should get. You know, I mean, we're very low on the totem pole, you know. I mean, especially black male artists, you know, we're very low, you know, very low on the totem pole, you know. We're
straight males?
Oh, especially black straight males. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Because there's a masculinity in us that society does not want to deal with. You know, they don't want to deal with a masculine black male that's educated, that has something to say. We terrify them.
They're scared of it.
Yes. So they revert to another genre, you know, of that black male. And because that black male is not threatening to them.
Yep.
You know, they can control that black male.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they can portray them the way they want to portray them. Me, they can't do that with me.
Yeah,
I won't let that. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything different between myself and I'm not going to say that other genre. I'm not going to say that. I'm just who I am. I'm just me. And I'm not willing to like say, if you give me this show, or I'm not willing to play the good old Negro role, you know,
Gotcha.
Get up here and do a minstrel dance for you.
Cakewalk.
Yeah, in order for you to say, hey, okay, you a good old boy.
Yeah.
Come on in here.
Yep.
You know, I'm like, no.
No house nigga here.
Take me as I am. Because, like my Identity Theft show, I've sent out catalogs all over the place, and very little response. You know where the response I really get from? Is Europe. A lot from London, Paris. Actually, my assistant has connected me with some people from Haile Selassie's museum in London. So we have a Zoom meeting with them on Friday. But we had another gallery or museum called Home in London, and we were supposed to go there, but the pandemic happened.
Of course.
So, you know, so London and Europe is giving me a lot of love, but America, they're so afraid. I don't know, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of? What more do I have to do? What more do I have to do as an artist to get you to show my work? You know, I mean, you want me to show my work, but you want to piecemeal it. You want to take the pieces that you think represent what you want to represent. But the ones that have the power, which they all have power.
Yes, sir.
So that I don't mind. But take it all. Listen to what I'm saying. I have something to say, just like everyone else out there has something to say.
Yeah.
You know, I want you to hear it. But if you don't hear it, I'm going to find another way for you to hear it.
Got you.
Like through Antonio.
Yo, you going to hear him here, folks. We ain't going to clout him. We're going to show and uplift Chukes in his work. As you can see, it's amazing. And I learned that Europe, they're more cultured. That's why they take your work. They're more cultured. They can appreciate art. That's my opinion. I've been to Europe, and that's how I noticed that they're more cultured. They appreciate jazz more. They appreciate more black culture in Europe and around the world than black culture is appreciated in its homeland.
Yeah, well, I have to agree with you. I mean, my wife and I went to Europe a couple of years ago, and we went to London, Geneva, we went to Paris, we went to Florence, Italy, years before that. And it's funny, it's like we were in Florence, and we were walking down the street because we went to the Uffizi where David is.
Okay.
And my wife took me there for my birthday. Didn't know where in the hell I was going.
Cool.
She just took me there, you know. So I look up, and we walk in there, and I'm like, immediately, I'm like, wow, this is Michelangelo. And I see David, and I want to run to him and dive in. Because, I mean, he is my all-time greatest artist ever.
Really?
Everybody say it's so cliche-ish, but I don't care. If I had to choose one artist, I mean, just what that man did, what his emotion, and how he brought it out in what his work was. I mean, my mother, the first art book I have it in my library. My wife is a librarian. I have it in our library in our house. It's by Michelangelo. I mean, It's the first book, you know. I still have it. I mean, that's the only book that I've ever referred to as an artist to look at the anatomy as far as what he did and how he did. And none of my work looks like his work, but I just wanted to tap into his emotion.
Of course.
But while we were in Europe, though, it's like I'm walking around in there and I'm seeing all these buildings and whatnot, and I'm like, my wife asked me this question. There's these rings on all these buildings. And she's like, what is that? I said, oh, that's where they put the horses at. That's where they tied up their buggies at, their horses' buggy.
Oh, wow.
And I just said it. It's like I had been there. And I can't walk down the street without getting lost. But everywhere we went in Europe, I knew where in the hell I was going.
Interesting.
And she's like,
how?
Yeah. We went to Paris, and I'm like, babe, we got to get a place in Paris because I just felt so at home there.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, I know they romanticize Paris, but I felt Paris. I'm like, I could live in Paris.
Gotcha. It's like your second home.
Oh, I could live there. But where I really want to go, I want to go to the motherland. I've never been there.
Okay.
I've never been to Africa. I've got to go to Africa.
It's coming.
Well, we've had opportunities, but things just got in the way, and it just wasn't right. and I know when it's right. And I'll tell you, the one reason I didn't go to Africa because I thought I'd never come back to America.
Like you'll fall in love and never want to come back?
Yeah, and I still think that now. If I go there, I'm just not going to want to come back because if I go to Africa, I know no one's going to call me nigga.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I could walk in the store and I don't have to feel security walking around here following me.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to explain myself to someone. I'm around somewhere where I'm just free to be me. You know, I'm free right here in this area. As soon as I walk out this door, I'm like, oh shit, what's going to happen today?
Yeah, it's a different
You
story.
know? Yeah.
And you live in a nice neighborhood, so it's even more like,
That don't mean nothing.
you know, who are you? What are you doing here?
Don't mean nothing.
You know
I've
what
lived
I mean?
I've lived in bad neighborhoods and felt very safe there and loved.
Gotcha.
You know, so, you know.
I guess I just mean the profiling happens probably
No,
more.
I got you.
in,
I got you. Yeah,
in
it does.
neighborhoods,
It does.
you know?
Racial profiling is alive and well. Yes,
You
it
know?
is. You know.
And, you know, I just want to ask a couple things, and I know we got to get out of here pretty soon, but we talked about, you know, the gentleman who passed and whose art's being overpriced and stuff like that. So what do you think about your contemporaries' artwork? And do you think that what it's being priced for, your contemporaries that are currently alive, do you think what it's being priced for compared to yours is fair and right?
You know, first of all, how do you put a price on work? You know, if I go in here and I say, look, I want $2,000 for this piece, you know, there are going to be people that are still going to try and say, look, can you give me a deal?
Always.
You know, they look at black artists, they say, can you give me a deal? But if a white artist does this and they ask $2,000 for it, I'm going to give you the money. This is not a $2,000 piece.
No.
You know, it's a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 piece.
Hit 'em.
But you know, but when you put that kind of price on your work, you either have the money or you don't. You can't haggle.
Yeah.
You know, you can't haggle. There are artists out there now getting $100,000, $250,000, $1 million for their work, you know, a couple $1 million for their work.
Wow.
You know, that's just, you know, I mean, I really wouldn't even know if somebody says, hey, man, I'm going to give you $1 million for this. I'm like, well, great. I give all my money to my wife. I swear. And this is God's honest truth. I have no idea how much money I have in the bank.
Okay.
If I get a check, I don't even open my mail. And I probably shouldn't say it. I just give it to my wife.
Yeah.
Brothers, trust your woman.
She got to be trustworthy.
Trust your woman. She'll do you right.
She got to be
She
trustworthy.
won't take your money and throw it up at the club.
Yeah.
I know it's safe. You know, I don't care. I'm concerned with when I make money, can I keep living the way I live so I can come in here and create?
Yes.
It's not about the money, but I'll be honest, at a point it is. You know, I've been doing this over 40 years. I've been doing this my entire life, has been an artist. I really haven't. I think I've had one job. I had one job my life.
Yeah, that's
one.
a blessing. This
one.
is a blessing.
Yeah,
Woo.
but let me tell you, I had that one job and I walked out. Because
quit.
my art told me, says, if you don't leave this job right now, you'll never do your art again. That was a job at IBM.
Okay.
And I was being groomed to do all this great stuff, and I was learning all this stuff real fast. It was real fast, but I'm like, and I knew when I got that job, I said, I'm only going to be here for 6 months. And 6 months later, I walked out the job and I came out to Los Angeles.
Wow.
I never turned back.
Wow. 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 So, amazing story. What, obviously, this is your passion, this is your heart, this is your art. What do you do for enjoyment outside of it?
Hang out with my wife. Shoot, I mean, we get in the street and we gone. You know, I mean, we last week we were at the Hammer. You know, UCLA Hammer. You know, and then we went to let me see. Week before that, we were at the Hollywood Bowl. You know, listening to Earth, Wind and Fire.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, Shaka Khan. You know, Robert Glasper. You know, I mean,
Ooh.
the Roots. You know, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Hey.
You know, I mean, we just. You know, we enjoy life. We get out, you know, so we just go and see the world. You know, we thrift. I'm a thrifter, you know, because I buy records, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's like, we'll just do our little thrift thing and go out and just, you know, get whatever we feel like getting. You know, me, like I said, I'm records, you know. I'm a very simple person, you know. It doesn't take a lot to please me, you know. I mean, just give me some music and whatnot, you know, and I'm good, you know. I'm good. I mean, I enjoy life. I enjoy being around people, you know. I do. You know, I enjoy it tremendously, you know. But I enjoy being with my wife more than anything.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Hey, everyone needs to find their Camille. which is Bill Cosby's wife. Everyone needs to find their Camille in life, who also takes care of his finances. That's what reminded me of when you immediately said that. I was like, wow, Bill and Camille. What's one of your dream locations that you would love to see your work at?
Everywhere on this planet.
Gotcha.
You know, everywhere. Why should I just pick one place when I can have the whole world?
Ooh.
You know, there's a whole world out there. You know, I mean, that's why social media is so great.
Facts.
You know, my assistant has done an incredible job.
Shout out to her.
Yes, she wants to stay in the back in the
Shout out.
in the back, and I'm like, all right, but she, you know, this is not me because this is my assistant. She's the one that sets all this up. She makes that happen. You know, she took her like a year or so to finally convince me. Hey, Chukes, you gotta get on social media, and I'm like, I was on Facebook thinking I was doing something, and I guess, on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's been good, but she's taking it to a whole nother level. You know, so I'm like, that's a good thing for me. You know, that's a good thing for me to kind of get out of my circle of you know, my own little world that I live in. You know, and so now I'm like, I'm all over the world now. You know, I'm all over the world, because social media can be used in such a crazy way. There's so much nonsense on TV, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that.
We got to get away from it. Yeah.
Well,
100%.
you know, it's never going to happen, but you know, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I want to, you know, I want to make sense of what I'm doing. You know, I don't want to just be the guy that's it for the day. You know, yeah, I'm in. Well, bell bottoms were in, you know, in the 70s, and now they went out, and now they're coming back. I don't want to be that, you know.
Goldfish in your shoes?
I don't follow to the beat of a drum.
I like it.
You know, I'm just who I am.
Yeah, create your own beat.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, people tell you, you know, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. You're too old. Age? Really?
Gonna hit me with the age thing?
Really?
Yeah.
You know, well, what's a 15-year-old going to tell me?
Uh-oh.
You know, really?
Uh-oh.
Seriously, what are you going to tell me at 15, 18,
Yeah.
20, 21?
Tell a grown-ass man.
Yeah, really nothing. You know?
Mm-hmm.
All they do, the media does, is use those as the tool. You know, and then when you're no longer that age, just swipe you away. And then you believed all that stuff, and then you become nothing after that. Know who you are already.
Yeah.
And if you get that little bit of limelight, enjoy it, love it, you know, but then realize you still got to keep living.
Facts.
No, really, you do.
You do.
You know?
Only have one life.
I'm loving getting older. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think,
You know?
I used to have this terrible mindset, and I think it's the black, unfortunately, like death belief, which is, I used to think that I would never make it past 21 for a long, long time. For a long, long time. I used to think I'd never make it past 21. But thank God I have, and I look forward to life beyond. Life beyond.
Well, there's a lot of kids out there that think that way. I've worked with a lot of kids that believe that, don't have that self-worth. They're not taught it, you know. Schools are doing a horrible job. You know, not that it's their responsibility. At one time it used to be.
Yeah.
Parents are doing a horrible job. You know, you have children parenting children, you know. I mean, they're just not equipped, you know. I mean, even if that's the case, you have to give the environment where you change the attitude, change the mindset.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to step out of your environment and see other things, even if your friends laugh at that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends laugh at me because I listened to hardcore or punk rock. You know, they're like, man, or I listened to Led Zeppelin at a time where a black kid wasn't supposed to listen to Led Zeppelin. Well, shit, I like Led Zeppelin.
Right.
You know, I'm like, and I'm not gonna let you tell me that I'm being white because I listen to Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Well, if you understand Led Zeppelin, they were listening to everybody black back then anyways, because that's all their music was.
Blues.
Yes.
Hello.
You know,
Come
but
to the
you're
land with the ice and snow.
There you go. That's right. That's right. So I'm like, hey, but you have to look, you have to take further steps. You got to go deeper into it.
Yeah.
You know, you really do. You can't just take it at first base. Go all the way around. If you hit a home run and you stop at first base, you're only going to get one run.
Go all the way
But
around.
if you go all the way around and you got three other people on there, you know, You 4-run homer.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
You hit a grand slam.
Yes,
Get
sir.
your grand slam.
Yes,
you know?
sir.
Shoot, get it. You know. So I mean, that's all I'm trying to do, Antonio. You know, I'm like, you know, I'm trying to just enjoy my life on this earth. You know, and being an artist, it's the hardest thing I think in life that you can do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, and I can only say for me, and I've seen it for a black male artist because there's so much negativity about us trying to reach our dreams. Yeah, if I want to say, you know, look, if I want to be an athlete, yeah, you could do that. You could do that. I was an athlete. I missed going to the Olympics by a 10th of a second.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I did.
Wow.
I tried, but I never could get that 1/10 of a second. You know, I could never get, I just couldn't do it.
Wow.
My body just said, it's enough. But it's like, once that was over with, I always knew in the back of my head, hey, you know, you still have other goals.
Yeah.
You know, you have other things. So I took all that discipline I used as an athlete, I just transferred it over into my art.
Boom.
I took those days of training, took the pain I did, took the disappointment I took, but I took the goals that I accomplished. When no one else said I could do it, I could do it. When my teachers told me, hey, what do you want to be when you want to grow up, Chukes? Well, I want to be an artist. They laughed. They thought it was funny.
Wow.
Well,
Disrespectful.
now they are on my Facebook telling me, hey, I always knew you were going to be an artist. Yeah, really.
First they didn't want me. Now they all on me.
Well, my high school teacher did. Bless his soul, he's no longer here no more. I'm the greatest teacher I ever had, other than my mother, Mr. Mike Shannon. I mean, he knew it.
Okay.
He knew it. And one of my greatest accomplishments was when I got my first degree, I went back to his school, Founding,
Wow.
and lectured to his kids because I wanted him to know how important he was. Because my high school he wound up leaving my high school and going to another high school because this man was so brilliant, so different. Wasn't afraid to be himself, but my high school was just, there were a bunch of idiots there, you know. And so he was teaching science. He didn't even teach art. But when I went back, he got in the right place and he was teaching art again, you know. So happy, you know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Chukes, what are you currently working on?
My mind. Yeah, seriously, I am. I'm always working on my mind.
Got you.
You know, I am. I mean, you got to get your mind right before you get everything else.
Facts.
Let me tell you something. Yes. My goal for me is like when I create, I have to have order. I'm a very ordered person.
You have to be.
Yes,
you have to be.
My to the point where the dishes have to be washed, the carpet has to be vacuumed, the bed has to be made up, dusted. I like that because when I'm done, I want to come in the house, take a shower, go to bed, eat some food, go to bed, get up in the morning, come right back out here again. You know, all the other stuff outside of this, it's the easiest part is coming in here creating. The hardest part is having to just deal with life.
Everything outside of it.
Yes, you got to deal with life.
Yeah.
You got to deal with all these other things, these variables that just are just coming at you. You know, but you have to say to yourself, what is more important? What is my purpose of life? Is my purpose of life to be sitting in my room playing video games that when I'm finished, I got 50 billion points, but I have nothing to show for it?
Yeah.
I wasted a month sitting in my room. I didn't create anything. I didn't do that here. If I came in here and just looked around, all you'd see is an empty room.
This is a fact.
Create something. Use your time. Say, look, be able to bring your friends over and say, look what I did. Look what I created. This is part of my legacy.
I love it.
Do that. And then when you do that, pass that on to your friends.
Hey.
Me and my friends, we used to critique our work before we even knew what critiquing work was. Really, we were kids critiquing our work. But that's tight. That's when you know. And those friends I got then they're still my friends now.
You have to have friends
they
like
understand that. They
you
said,
have to have friends like that.
And they tell me, say, man, we knew you were going to be an artist. I said, well, I knew you was doing what you was doing. And so we all supported each other, you know. So it's beautiful.
And you need friends like that. Again, that goes back to like being able to tell your truth to somebody that you love, and someone to tell the truth back to you that love you, to be open without fear of worry. And so, you know, Chukes, you have amazing artwork. You're an amazing person. Thank you again for allowing me into your home and your studio. what would you like your empire to look like once everything is said and done? 100 years has passed. What would you like your empire to look like?
What I like my empire to look like? A vision of love. A vision that of a person that loved his life, that loved humanity, that loved the world, that wanted to give nothing back but love, something beautiful. But in that beauty, I wanted my empire to say that this is my truth. This is why I was here. I told the truth. You know, I'm not perfect. You know, I'm not like, I'm not saying like I haven't lied before, because I have, you know, but my art is the closest thing I have to my truth. It is. Because I know it's going to represent me when I'm no longer here. Yep. It's my empire. It is my empire. So I want people to see that what I put every bit of myself into what I'm creating, every bit of it, every bit of the emotion I had has gone into each one of these pieces. Each one of them. That's my empire, man. And that empire is just filled with gratefulness and love that I have for my parents, you know, my friends, you know, my family. I mean, for understanding what I needed to do this, but also allowing me to give my gift to other people.
I love that. I love that. Well, Chukes, I want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Can you please tell everybody how they can find you, how they can purchase this work, maybe where your next exhibitions are going to be, just how they can find you? Tell them right there.
You can find me at chukesart.com, or you can go to Chukes Art on Instagram, Chukes Art on Facebook, or you could just Google Chukes, Chukes. I don't use my first name. I always use my last name. There's a whole different story behind why I use only my last name, but it is my indigenous Nigerian last name that I found out myself. History in schools did not teach me that. But anyways, that's where you can find me. You know, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere, you know. So if you want to find me and you think my work is something that you want, you know where I'm at.
You hear that, folks? And it'll also be in the description. And Chukes, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. I want to thank you for letting me be in your home. Learned a lot about your work, or your emotion through your work. And everyone, I want to thank you for watching the podcast. Please like, subscribe, share. Again, my name is Antonio D. Miles. And without you guys, I wouldn't be here. So I want to thank you. And we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
All right. All right.
I say it's my duty. Yeah. Is it my will? Yeah. To do what? Yeah. To do is right. I say.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right.